Altazor, Canto 1. Altazor, why did you ever lose your young serenity? What evil angel stopped at the door of your smile with sword in hand? Who scattered affliction over the plains of your eyes like ornaments of a god? Why did you suddenly one day feel the terror of being? And that voice that shouted you're alive and you don't see yourself living? Who made your thoughts converge at the crossroads of all winds of pain? The diamond of your dreams shattered in a sea of stupor. You're lost, Altazor, alone in the middle of the universe, alone like a note flowering in the heights of space. There's no good, no evil, no truth, no order, no beauty. Where are you, Altazor? The galaxy of affliction moves like a river and drags me along by the laws of attractions. The galaxy solidified into scent escapes from its solitude, and I feel a telescope pointed at me like a revolver. The tail of a comet lashes my face and moves on stuffed with eternity, endlessly searching for a peaceful lake, a break from compulsory labour. Altazor, you'll die. Your voice will dry up. You'll become invisible. The earth will go on spinning in its calculated orbit, afraid of a slip like an acrobat on a high wire stretched between glances of fear. Uselessly you search with crazed eyes. There's no exit, and the wind drives out the planets. You think this perpetual falling doesn't matter if you can manage to escape. You don't see you're still falling? Clear your head of prejudice and morals, and, if in trying to soar you've gotten nowhere, let yourself fall endlessly, fearlessly fall into the depths of darkness, unafraid of the mystery of yourself. And perhaps you'll find a darkless light lost in the cracks of the cliffs. Fall, perpetually fall. Fall to the depths of the infinite. Fall to the depths of time. Fall to the depths of yourself. Fall as far as you can fall. Dizzilessly fall. Across all space and across all ages. Across all the souls of all the desperate and all the shipwrecked. Fall and burn past stars and seas. Burn the eyes that watch you and the hearts that await you. Burn the wind with your voice, the wind tangled in your voice, and the night freezing in its caves of bones. Fall into childhood, fall into senility, fall into tears, fall into laughter, fall into music over the universe. Fall from your head to your feet, fall from your feet to your head, fall from the sea to the source, fall from the final pit of silence like a sinking ship with its lights going out. Everything stopped. The cannibal sea beats at the gates of the ruthless cliffs. Dogs howl at the dying hours, and the sky listens for the footsteps of stars slipping away. You're alone, heading straight for death like an iceberg broken loose from the pole. Night falls searching for the sea for its heart. Gazes grow into torrents, and as the waves circle round, the moon-child of light escapes the high seas. Look at this full sky, richer than the sluices of the mines, a sky full of stars waiting to be baptized. All those heavenly bodies splashed by a star hurling into the eternal waters. They don't know what they want, don't know where their nets are hidden further along, don't know what hands hold the reins, what lungs puff the wind over them. They don't know if there are no hands or there are no lungs. Mountains of fish are the heights of my desires, and I fling my last afflictions beyond the night, so that the birds singing may scatter them through the world. Fix the engine of dawn, while I sit at the edge of my eyes, watching the images come in. Altazor am I, Altazor, trapped in the prison of his fate, uselessly shaking the bars of possible escape. A flower blocks the way, and the bars rise like a statue of flames impossible escape. I walk in misery weaker than an army without light in the middle of an ambush. My eyes opened in this century, when Christianity died, writhing on its cross of slow death. It has yet to heave its last sigh, and tomorrow what will be put in its place? A dawn or a sunset? Must we replace it at all? The crown of thorns withers, dripping its last stars. Christianity will die. It never solved any problems. It only taught dead prayers. It dies after 2,000 years of existence. A great cannonade puts an end to the Christian era. Christ wants to die accompanied by millions of souls, sinking with his temples, and crossing death with an enormous entourage. 1,000 aeroplanes hail the new era. They are its oracles and its flags. Only 6 months ago, I left the equatorial line freshly carved on the soldier's monument to the patient slave, a crown of piety placed on human stupidity. It is I who speak in the year 1919. It's winter. Europe has now buried all its dead, and 1,000 tears form a single cross of snow. Look at those steps shimmering with hands, millions of workers who understood at last, and raised to the sky their banners of dawn. Come, come, we're waiting for you. Are the hope, the only hope, the last hope. Altazor, I am the double of myself, he who watches himself at work and laughs in his face, he who fell from the heights of his star and travelled for 25 years, hanging in the parachute of his own prejudices. Altazor, am I of infinite longing, of eternal hunger and dejection, flesh furrowed by ploughs of affliction. How can I sleep when there are unknown lands within, predicaments, mysteries hanging on my chest? I'm alone. The distance that stretches from body to body is as great as that from soul to soul. Alone, alone, alone. I'm alone, standing at the tip of the slow drying year. The universe breaks in waves at my feet. Planets whirl round my head, rumpling my hair in the wind that rushes by, without giving an answer that would fill the abyss, without feeling this fantastic desperation that searches among the fauna of the sky. For a material being, where the heart may sleep, a shady bed in the whirlwind of mysteries, a hand to stroke the throbbing of fevers, God diluted in the nothing and the all, God all and nothing, God in words and deeds, mind God, breath God, young God, old God, putrid God, far and near, God moulded in the shape of my distress. So let us go on cultivating fields of error in our brains. Let us go on cultivating fields of truth in our chests. Let us go on, always the same as yesterday, tomorrow and later, and then, no, it can't be. We must change our luck, burn our flesh in the eyes of dawn, drink the pale lucidity of death, the polar lucidity of death. Chaos sings to the chaos that has a human chest. It weeps, echoing through the universe, spinning past hallucinations with its myths, the high fever affliction of space, the bitter conscience of the useless sacrifice, of the worthless experience of the cosmic disaster, of the failed experiment, and yet, after man has disappeared, his memory burnt in the blazes of time, a little taste of pain will linger in the terrestrial atmosphere. So many centuries gasped by miserable heaving chests, the sinister shadow of an enormous tear will linger in space, and a lost, desolate voice moaning, nothing, nothing, nothing. No, it can't be. We must devour pleasure, use up all the life in life, kill the death infiltrated by lugubrious rhapsodies, by delicate pianos and banners transforming like chrysalids. The rocks of death groan at the edge of the world, the wind drags its bitter flowers, and the grief of springs that can't be born. Everything is a trap of the spirit, an electrical transfusion of dream and reality, the dark lucidity of this huge despair petrified in solitude to live live in darkness. In the chains of tyrannical desperation, collars of screams, and an endless voyaging in the interiors of the self, with the pain of constant limits and the shame of a crippled angel, the ridicule of a god of night. To revolve and revolve broken antennae in the middle of space, through winged seas and stagnant dawns, I am standing here before you, in the name of an idiot law that proclaims the preservation of the species, a vile law, a villainous law rooted in the ingenious sexes. On account of this law, the primary trap of the unconscious, man leads a wicked life. and breaks down into mortal howlings through the pores of the earth. I am standing here among you, my longings falling through space, my screams falling into nothing, my curses falling into chaos, a dog of the infinite trotting among dead planets, a dog licking stars and star memories, a dog licking crypts. I want eternity like a dove in my hand. Everything must go off to death, hide itself in death. I, you, he, we, they, yesterday, today, tomorrow, a pasture for the gullets of insatiable oblivion, a pasture for the perpetual rumination of tireless chaos. Justice? What have you done to me, Vincente Huidobro? Pain falls from my tongue and my clipped wings. One by one my dead fingers fall off. What have you done to my voice, heavy with birds as evening falls, the voice that once hurt like bleeding? Give me the infinite like a flower for my hands. To go on. No, it's not enough. To go on, weighed down with worlds, countries, cities, crowds howling, covered with climates, hemispheres, ideas, memories. Among the spider webs of tombs and the conscious planets, to go on from pain to pain, mystery to mystery, from stone pain to plant pain, for everything is pain. The pain of battle, the pain of not being. Links of pain chain the earth to the sky, the waters to the land, and worlds gallop in orbits of affliction, thinking of deceit. The ambush waiting in every corner of space. My feet hurt like stony rivers. What have you done to my feet? What have you done to this universal beast, this nomadic animal, this delirious rat that scrambles over mountains, over hymns from north, or shouts of earth, filthy with earth and weeping, earth and bleeding? Thrashed with thorns and a cross of eyes, conscience is sorrow, intelligence is deceit. Only the outskirts of life can one plant a little illusion. Eyes eager for seething tears, lips eager for greater lament, hands driven mad from touching darkness, searching for more darkness, and this sorrow that wanders through my bones, and this funeral in my memory, this funeral that grows larger in my memory, this long funeral that crosses all the days of my memory, to go on. No, smash the scaffold of the bones, pull down the rafters of the brain, let the hurricane drag the pieces to the nothing on the other side, where the wind thrashes God, where my guttural violin still resounds, accompanied by the posthumous piano of the Last Judgment. It's you, the fallen angel, the perpetual falling over death, the endless falling from death to death. Bewitch the universe with your voice, anchor yourself to your voice, bewitcher of the world, singing like a blind man lost in eternity. A brutal, painful grammar walks through my brain, the continual massacre of internal concepts and a final adventure of cosmic hopes, a havoc of careless stars, fallen from sorcery and homeless, all that is hidden and incites us with its fatal charms, hidden in the freezing regions of the invisible or the burning storms of our brains. Eternity becomes a path of flowers, for the return of ghosts and predicaments, for the eager mirages of the new hypotheses that shatter the mirror of potential magic. Freedom, oh yes, freedom from everything, from the memories that possess us, from the guts that know what they know, because of these wounds that chain us to the pit, and the shouts of wings that shatter us. Magic and illusion file the iron bars, poetry weeps at the tip of the soul, and unease increases, staring at new walls raised from mystery to mystery, among the mines of mystification that open their wounds with the inexhaustible ceremony of familiar dawn, all in vain. Give me the key to the locked dreams. Give me the key to the wrecked ship. Give me the certainty of roots on a quiet horizon, a discovery that does not retreat with every step. Oh, give me a beautiful green shipwreck, a miracle to brighten the depths of our intimate seas, like a ship that sinks without losing its light. Then free from this tragic silence, with a storm of my own, I'll challenge space, shake the nothingness with curses and shouts, till a ray of anxious judgment falls, bringing the airs of paradise to my gloom. Why am I a prisoner of this tragic search? What is it that calls out to me, then hides, that follows me, shouts my name, and when I turn around and reach out, the hands of my eyes wraps me in a fog as impenetrable as the night of dead stars? I suffer, I wallow in affliction. I've suffered ever since I was a nebulous bit, and have borne this primordial pain in my cells, this weight on my wings, this stone in my song, the pain of being an island, subterranean affliction, cosmic affliction, polymorphous affliction older than my life, that follows me like a military band and will go on beyond me to the other side of the universe's end, conscious, unconscious, deformed, roaring as fire, the fire that burns my inner coals and the alcohol of my eyes. I am a tragic orchestra, a tragic concept. I'm as tragic as lines of poetry that drill into my temples and can't get out. Funerary architecture, fatal hopeless mathematics, superimposed layers of mysterious pain, superimposed layers of mortal anxieties, undergrounds of fantastic institutions. Centuries that come howling through my veins, centuries that teeter on my soul, that slowly die in my voice. For my voice is only song, and can only come out in song. The cradle of my tongue rocks in space, older than time, and will guard forever the first rhythm, the rhythm that gives birth to worlds. I am the voice of man resounding in the heavens, the voice that blasts and damns, and begs for explanations of why and for what. I am the total man, the man wounded by who knows what, by an arrow lost in the chaos, human, worldly, outrageous, yes, outrageous, and I proclaim it with no fear, outrageous, for I am a bourgeoisie or a debilitated blue blood of barbarian maybe, outrageously sick, a barbarian cleansed of routines and familiar routes. I won't accept your armchairs of comfortable security. I am the savage angel who fell one morning onto your plantations of precepts. Poet, anti-poet, cultured, anti-cultured, a metaphysical animal burdened with dismay, an open, spontaneous animal bleeding his predicaments, lonely as a paradox, a fatal paradox, a flower of contradictions dancing a foxtrot on the crypt of God, on good and evil. I am a screaming chest and a bleeding brain. I am an earthquake. The seismographs register my passage through the world. The wheels of the earth creak, and I go on riding my horse of death. I go on stuck to death like a bird to the sky, like the date marked on a growing tree, like the name on a letter. I go on stuck to my death. I go on through life stuck to my death, leaning on the cane of my skeleton. The sun rises in my right eye and sets in my left. In my childhood, as burning as alcohol, I would sit by the paths of night, listening to the eloquence of the stars and the oratory of trees. Now, indifferent snows in the evening of my soul. Break the stars into seeds, shatter the moon into 1,000 mirrors. Give the tree back to the nest of its acorn. I only want to know why. Why? I am an act of protest. I scratch the infinite with my claws, and I shout and scream in miserable oceanic screams. The echo of my voice makes chaos thunder. I am cosmically outrageous. Stones, plants, mountains greet me, bee rats, lions and eagles, stars, sunsets, dawns, rivers and forests ask me, what new how are you? And as long as the stars and the waves have something to say, it will be through my voice that they speak to man. Let God be God, let Satan be God, or both be fear, the ignorance of night. It's all the same, whether a Milky Way or a procession climbing in search of truth, it makes no difference to me now. Bring me an hour in which to live, Bring me a love fished by the ear, and throw it here to die before my eyes. Let me fall through the world at blinding speed. Let me run through the universe at blinding star. Let me sink or soar, pitilessly hurtling through planets and catastrophes. Lord God, if you exist, you owe it all to me. Kill horrible doubt and shocking lucidity. Man with his eyes open through the night till the end of the centuries, the loathsome mystery of contiguous instincts like the bells of exaltation. Bird watcher of dead lights that walk with ghost feet, with the gentle feet of a stream, carrying away the clouds and the changing scene. Our fate is played out on the rug of the sky. There were hours drop dead, the ponderous procession of hours that beat on the world. Our soul is played out, the fate that flies every morning over the clouds with its eyes full of tears. The open wound of the last beliefs bleeds when the melancholic rifle in the human blind brings down the birds from the sky. Look at where your brother animals stripped of your name, at the waterhole of your own linnets under the kindly dawn that patches the fabric of the tides. Look far off, the chain of men approaching, leaving the factory of identical miseries, gnawed by the same eternity, by the same hurricane of wandering enchantment. Each one carries his shapeless word, his feet tied to his own star. The machines advance in the night of the fatal diamond. The desert advances with its lifeless waves. Mountains go by, camels go by, like a history of ancient battles. There goes a chain of men through illusory fires towards the great toned eyelid. Some day after my death, the world will seem small to everyone. Continents will be planted in the seas. There'll be islands in the skies. There'll be a great metal bridge around the earth, like the rings constructed on Saturn. There'll be cities as big as a country, gigantic cities of the future, where Ant-Man will be a cipher. A number that moves and suffers and dances, with a little love, sometimes like a harp that makes you forget about life. Gardens of tomatoes and cabbages, public parks planted with fruit trees. There's no meat to eat, space is tight, and the machines killed the last animal. Fruit trees all along the roads, the profitable only the profitable. Oh, the beautiful life the factories create, the horrible indifference of smiling stars, the shelter of music that escapes from the hands of the last blind men. The affliction of the absolute, the affliction of perfection, the desolate affliction that crosses lost orbits, conflicting rhythms that break my heart. Every hair on my head thinks another thought. Tedium invades the hollow that runs from dawn to dusk, a yawn, the colour of the world and the flesh, the spiritual colour, shamed by impossible things, the struggle between skin and the sentiment of an honour pledged and unfulfilled, the nostalgia of being stone and clay or God, the vertigo of nothingness falling from shadow to shadow, the uselessness of strength, the fragility of a dream. Angel exiled from common sense, why do you speak? Who asks you to speak? Explode, pessimist, but explode in silence. How the men 1,000 years from now will laugh. Dogman, you howl at your soul, at your own night, delinquent from your soul. The man of tomorrow will laugh at you, and your petrified shouts dripping stalactites. Who are you, inhabitants of this stellar corpse? What is your nausea of the infinite, your ambition for eternity? Atom banished from itself, its doors and windows decked in mourning. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? Who cares about your planet? A miserable fidget. The remains of the disdain that will be felt for you by an inhabitant of Betelgeuse 29 million times greater than the sun. I speak because I am an act of protest, an insult, a grimace of pain. I believe only in the climates of passion. Only those with clear-sighted hearts ought to speak. In high-frequency language, explorers of truths and lies, tired of swinging their lanterns in the labyrinths of nothing, in the cave of alternate sentiments. Pain is the only eternal thing, and no one can laugh in the face of the void. What do I care about the jeers of the ant-men, or the inhabitants of larger stars? I don't know about them, and they don't know about me. I only know I'm ashamed of this life of cellular loathing, the abject lie of everything man constructs, the pedestals of air of their laws and ideals. Give me hurry, give me a plain of silence, an unpopulated plain like the eyes of the dead. Robinson, why did you come back from your island? From the island of your works and your private dreams, the island of yourself, rich with your labours, with no laws, no betrayals, no compromise, uncontrolled by intruding eyes, or the foreign hand that breaks the spell. Robinson, how could you come back from your island? Wretched is he who sees with eyes of death, wretched is he who sees what moves all things, a storm inside the laughter, a solar anguish inside the laughter. Kill the pessimist with his eyeballs dressed in mourning, who carries a coffin in his brain. Everything is new when no one sees with new eyes. I hear an idiot voice in the seaweed of illusion, a mouth parasitical even of hope. Gone far from here the remains of dying beaches, but if you look for discoveries, unreachable lands beyond the skies, the lush obsession of musical dismay, we must return to silence. Remains of funeral beaches. Why are you looking for the lighthouse of the west, dressed in a flowering hair, like the queen of the circus? We must return to silence, to the silence of the words that come from silence, to the silence of the hosts where the prophets die, with the thorn in their side, cauterized by a bolt of lightning. Words with fever and eternal wooziness. The poet's words cause air sickness. They bring on cloud sickness, a contagious infinite of errant planets, an epidemic of roses in eternity. Open your mouth and receive the host of the wounded word, the afflicted, burning host that is born within me. I don't know where that comes from beyond my chest, the delicate cataract of free-falling gold, river running fateless like random aeolites. A pillar rises at the tip of my voice, and night sits on the pillar. I will populate the dreams of men for 1,000 years, and I will give you all a poem full of heart, in which I'll explode into pieces everywhere. A tear will fall from some eye, like something dispatched over the land. When you see a prophetic wound and recognise the hapless flesh, the bird blinded by the cosmic catastrophe found in my lonely thirsty chest, while I go off behind the magnetic boats, wandering as they wander, sadder than a cortege of sleepwalking horses. There are words that have the shade of trees, and others with the atmosphere of stars. There are words with rays of fire that ignite where they fall, and others that freeze on the tongue and shatter on the way out, like those winged and mantic crystals. There are words with magnets that attract the treasures of the deep, and others that unload like wagons onto the soul. Don't trust words, Altazor. Don't trust ceremonious artifice and poetry. Traps of light and luxurious cascades, traps of pearl and aquatic lamps. Walk like the blind with their eyes of stone, expecting a cliff at every step. But do not fear me because my language is strange. I bring neither happiness nor misery to anyone, nor do I drape flags across chests, nor bring the rings of planets, nor do I make satellites of marble spin around some weird talisman. I want to bring you a music of the spirit. My music from this zither planted in my body, music that makes you think about the growth of trees and explodes in festival lights inside your dream. I speak in the name of a star no one knows. I speak with a tongue moistened by unborn seas, with a voice full of eclipses and outer reaches, solemn as a battle of distant stars or galleys, a voice scuttled on the night of the rocks, a voice that brings sight to the attentive blind, the blind hidden in the basements of houses, as if at the bottom of their selves. The sailboats that set out to disperse my soul through the world will return transformed into birds. One beautiful tall morning, yards high, tall as a tree whose fruit is the sun, one fragile breakable morning, at the hour when the flowers wash their faces and the last dreams escape through the windows. The exaltation of dragging the heavens down to the tongue, the infinite, settles into the nest of the chest. Everything turns into an omen, and then an angel. The brain becomes the divulging sistrum, and the hour runs off with terror in its eyes. The birds engraved on the peak stop singing. The day commits suicide, hurtling itself into the sea. A boat dressed in lights goes sadly off, and at the bottom of the waves a fish listens to the footsteps of men. Silence the earth will give birth to a tree. Death has fallen asleep in the neck of a swan, and each feather has its own quivering, now that God is seated on the storm, and pieces of the sky fall and are tangled in the forest, and the typhoon rumples the pirate's beard. Now take death out into the wind, so the wind can open its eyes. Silence, the earth will give birth to a tree. There are secret letters in the mailbox of my skull. There's painful coal at the bottom of my chest, and I guide my chest to my mouth, and my mouth to the door of the dream. The world enters through mine eyes, enters through my hands, my feet, enters through my mouth and goes out through my pores, as celestial insects, as clouds of words. Silence, the earth will give birth to a tree. My eyes in the grotto of hypnosis gnaw on the universe that runs through me like a tunnel. A bird shudder flutters my shoulders, a shudder of inner waves and wings, a ladder of wings and waves in my blood. The cables of my veins snap, the cables of my veins snap, and it leaps out from my flesh, out through the doors of the earth and past the startled doves. Inhabitant of your fate, why do you want to abandon your fate? Why do you want to break the chains of your star and travel alone through space, falling across your body from your heights to your depths? I don't want the bonds of a star or wind. Moon bonds are fine for the sea and women. Give me my violins of the rebellious vertigo, my freedom of escaped music. There's no danger at the little crossroads of night, no mystery about the soul. The electrified word of heart and blood is God's great parachute and lightning rod. Inhabitant of your fate, stuck to your path like a rock, this is the hour of sorcery, yielding open the hand of your spirit, the magnetic finger on which the ring of adolescent serenity will perch and sing like the prodigal canary, gone for so many years. Silence. The pulse of the world faintly beats. The earth has just given birth to a tree.